Welcome back to the Real One Garage podcast, the podcast where we're all about keeping it real in the car community and the automotive industry. My name is Jamal and I'm your host. And today we have a special episode. I thought that after this weekend where I was basically traversing the auto show, that because I wanted to get a special guest on to also help describe the experience of the auto show, I kind of put that on the back burner a little bit and make an episode that describes one of my favorite media to watch on a regular basis. I don't know why I watch this on repeat, but it is one of the greatest movies I've seen. I was able to see it when I was very young, I think about in my teens, while I was still in high school. And it actually predates the Fast and the Furious era. I would pretty much call this the first Fast and the Furious. So with that being said, the name of this movie or series is called Shuto Kosoku in Japanese, or otherwise known as Freeway Speedway. Sorry about the glare. So this is a series of 6 movies, just so that I give you a better description so you guys understand. Let's kind of read it off Wikipedia too. So it's also known as Megalopolis, I don't even know how to pronounce that, Expressway Trial, Shuto Kosoku title. That's the original title of a series of 6 Japanese films about illegal highway racing in the Shuto Expressway. These movies were released between 1988 and 1996. There was an English dub. This is an English dub version, but there is no way I can watch this in English dub. It just would ruin the movie for me. I watch everything that's in Japanese in the original language. Even any other language movies, I watch in the original language. Subtitles for me any day. Gives me an understanding of how the language works too. But these DVDs were released in North America in 2004. So think about that. This literally was made in 1988. This is the first one. And the 6th one was made in 1996. And we didn't get it in North America until 2004. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like it's absolutely crazy. So due to the commercial success of the popular Hollywood film Fast and Furious, this was again the Fast and the Furious before the Fast and the Furious, and they also renamed it again after earlier and later in 2007 as the Tokyo Speedway, the complete collection. So yeah. Just to give you a bit of background, this was made during one of the most notorious eras of street racing, when Midnight Club or Midnight Racing, they don't really call it Midnight Club. So basically it was when Midnight Racing team was on the scene. They were very notorious and very infamous in terms of the respected car clubs of Japan. And to be honest with you, during this time, a lot of magazines were freely covering illegal street races in the 90s. You may have heard about Bozozoku, which were the motorcycle clubs that were also racing during that time. So the first movie was actually banned in Japanese cinema. So this was actually banned. They actually were not able to watch this just because it was promoting illegal activities on the streets of Japan. Although, from my personal opinion, because it's a movie, you can't discredit or be swayed from the allure of this. It was something that was not of the norm, and if anyone was like a hard-working Japanese salaryman during that time, these movies and this kind of expression in the automotive industry and the car enthusiast world was how you would kind of de-stress. This was your decompression moment of trying to push your car to the limit with using your hard-earned money to modify your vehicle so that it could run better and not be the run-of-the-mill, Econobox K car or anything like that. So yeah, this movie, it's really great. So I thought I'd share it with you because it really took me a long time to find these movies. As I said, I've been watching them. Well, I found one when I was, I think, about 17, 18. So that would have been back in 2003, 2004. And I guess because that's when they came out in America with these DVDs, it was a little easier for people to upload it to, at the time, there were like FTP servers and real player media that people would upload it to, and you'd download it off of LimeWire or Kazaa or something like that. So I found these when I was starting to get into cars because I had just started watching Initial D, and then I found basically like kind of real, well, I guess you could say live action, like the Wangan Midnight, as you can see over there. But this was with real people. Now, mind you, if you ever thought that the acting in Fast and the Furious, any one of the movies, was corny or pretty lame, which they do have some parts. It's based on fiction, right? It's not all based on completely real life scenarios. I'd say this would be more in line with more real life scenarios that happen in Japan. But I also would say that the acting almost kind of is replicated in terms of how like a Japanese anime character would act. So sometimes you'd be like, you feel a little bit cringe when you see how they're acting, the turnaways in terms of a dramatic effect or other things. So watch the movie. Now, the cool thing is, there have been several YouTubers that have uploaded these movies. This is how I was able to first watch them very easily, through YouTube. Luckily, I searched and searched and searched and found a seller that was actually selling the whole box set, brand new in box. I was so happy, brand new in box, because at first I bought them in singles because that's all I could find. So I have some extra copies in singles that I'll be keeping just because, just in case. But then I found the whole box set of all six, from the first one to the sixth one. But you can watch them on YouTube. They're really good, really entertaining. It'd be something that, for me at least, brings me back to a time where I find things were a lot more simple. You were able to enjoy things and put your full mind to it. You didn't have social media and the internet kind of yelling in your ear constantly. You didn't even have a cell phone, really. Well, actually, funny enough, they did have cell phones back then, but it was a luxury. It was, and car phones. It was a luxury that not everyone could afford. But of course, in Japan, they were usually the first ones to get it. But you could also even see the rise of technology as it goes from the first movie to the sixth, and it's really amazing. So I understand, this is generally a podcast, but I'll try to kind of narrate what we're seeing for our listeners as opposed to people who are watching the video. But if you do get a chance, both on YouTube and Spotify, you will be able to access the video footage of this podcast to see the clips that I'm showing. So in this very first scene of the first trial, they show the hero car of this entire series. And of course, what else could it be other than a Nissan Skyline? This main character in the movie basically is trying to achieve his dream of becoming an F1 driver, which seems to be something that a lot of people were trying for back in the day. It wasn't always just starting out with karting. You could still be pretty, I'd say, moderately young, so about in your late teens or early 20s, and still try for things like this. So he's literally trying to improve his driving skills to basically beat a record currently held by a current F1 racer that raced on the highway. And then from there, he would basically potentially get a chance to get sponsored. Because, as I said, a lot of car magazines were actually promoting this stuff via print media, or even in later parts of this film, you'd actually see them promote parts of the racing on the radio. So people would listen on the radio to hear how the street races went, which is crazy to me. That was a very cool thing, like to see. Let's see here. So yeah, again, he basically would go on different parts of the highway, try to beat the current record held by the current F1 driver that used to race on the highway, and try to beat their time so that he could then potentially get taken on by a sponsor, which I guess it was a bit of a pipe dream back then, to say the least. I think that, driving back then, driving on the roads, street racing, it was different. And I'd probably say this is because, one, a lot of the times at nighttime, early mornings, the roads were pretty clear. Most people were in bed because, most people had the day job. That's where the term 9 to 5 came from. So you wouldn't see the busy streets then. So that was a free method of allowing like street racers at night to be able to practice their skills on roadways without having to pay to go to the tracks. Because yes, they did have tracks. They definitely still do have tracks. And that will actually be a theme going forward from the next film, number 2, in terms of tracks. So, but what I will be doing is I'm going to try to review each film individually on each podcast and on each episode of this podcast, just so that you get a decent overview of what the content of the film is before you actually watch it. But still recommend to watch it. So even at the back of this, it says, street racers challenge each other to exceed the current speed record held by the F1 racer. However, in order to break the record of the Megalopolis Expressway Freeway, you need to have luck, in quotations, in addition to a high-powered street machine and driving technique. And you must be able to conquer the Devil's Curve. So there's a curve that is in this film. And mind you, just having had experience driving on Japanese roads, even the highway. I drove on the C1 loop and the Shuto Expressway. The roads are quite narrow. Just even watching this film, it doesn't do it justice until you actually go and drive yourself. So to drive on these narrow roads and highways at excessive speeds, it can be quite scary. I could say that I'd have more confidence driving here, now spirited driving here and being at different speeds than in Japan, just because the margin of error is so much smaller. So yeah, on this curve, it's basically like an interchange, and that interchange is extremely narrow and a lot of people crash there. So it says the racers bet their dreams and their life against each other in a dangerous game of speed. So yeah, with this movie, there's quite a bit that happens. It doesn't only focus on the racing. I say the good thing about this film is that the racing is mainly what is focused on here. But the what's also focused on is the lifestyle that this person lives. It's not all just about, just the racing. It's also about like, what does he sacrifice to get to the level he's at? Is there more? So he goes through break up with his girlfriend, which that usually happens when you're into cars. Like if you're a male or female, you start having to sacrifice time with your significant other. Even though this person, his significant other, basically was down to support him the whole way. They even go into a dramatic portion of where, because the guy doesn't initially beat the record, the racer, he then gives up on his dream, and his girlfriend at the time doesn't want him to give up, and he just kind of gives up out of fear. So she even tries to race and unfortunately loses her life, which it is a testament to say that this isn't a joke. Street racing can technically cost you your life, which is why doing it on the track in a controlled environment is the best way to go. But nonetheless, for the dramatic effect, of course, the racer, he then gets back his confidence, and decides to give it another go, try again, and see if he could beat the record. And he eventually does it. He eventually was able to do it. And actually, the coolest part about all of that is that he then basically does a drift down what that was termed as the Devil's Curve. And that really, really sets the tone of where the movie's going. So yeah, it's an amazing film. So there's his modified R30 Skyline GTS R. They didn't have GTRs at that point. It was the GTS R that he's using. And yeah, man, it's too cool. All of these street racers just hanging out with each other. And it wasn't even like a fashion show. It's more like everything was expressed through your car. Guys wearing full denim jean suit. And then you start seeing all the early car companies, the car aftermarket companies that are also in this. If you notice, he had a Bomex sticker on that vehicle. I think that's a Cressida as well. Like, He's also he had a rally art sticker on the back of his on the back of that truck over there, and he has Bomex decals. I think it is a Trust decal as well. It's really cool. And the iconic stove burner tail lights for the Skyline. I can't remember what exactly that engine model is. I think it begins with it's an F series, I believe. In that Skyline. Oh, and by the way, his actual time that he needs to beat is 5 minutes and 13 seconds. All old school gauges with um, red backlighting. Yeah, he's driving in traffic. That's the crazy thing. So yeah, don't do this at home. Don't do this at all. Cops will definitely catch you today regarding this. But yeah, he's racing on the highway. Those roads are super narrow. I know myself, and even the lighting back then, it was so dim compared to now. Now that I know they have like LED lighting everywhere around those highways, but you could barely see. So like, even doing this with that kind of like vision, field of vision is crazy. And yeah, like see, but you see how there's not many people that are driving on the highway that he's able to maneuver between all the cars. So that's another cool thing. It's really crazy that they used to do this. But yeah, honestly, the film really keeps you on your toes. It keeps you on your toes. It's really entertaining. I honestly find it a lot more entertaining than Fast and the Furious. I suggest watching this probably if you think you're gonna watch Fast and the Furious, put this on because I just think it's just a better display of like Japanese car culture. And I think given the fact that we're all into this because of the Japanese car culture, this is a better testament to what they were trying to achieve and what they were trying to do and how it's proceeded over the years. I think that Fast and Furious, it's done well in promoting car culture generally in North America, and it's easier to understand because, everything's in our native language, English. But if you are able to watch this and not worry about subtitles, you can watch the dub. If you can find the DVD, you can listen to the dub if you really want. But I think that you tend to start enjoying things a lot more when you see it in its original state. Also wanted to show you there's a point in the movie, as I mentioned, that there's some tension, and it's when the main character and his girlfriend break up. He adopts racing, he becomes a regular salaryman, drives a regular car, and she is still into racing a bit, and she wants him to get back into racing. She actually, as I said, eventually tries to break the record herself, but unfortunately loses her life in doing so. While that being said, her younger sister, who is in a standard high school uniform, the sailor uniform, she is dating another street racer who is also challenging to break the main character's previous records that he beat on the highway before he could beat the main record. And he's driving, I think, a second or third generation. I think it's a 280 Z here, but like a Fairlady Z with I think a 2.6 liter or 2.8 liter. It might be a 2.8 liter. But yeah, I'm gonna show you this as well. This was pretty cool. Let's see here. Here we go. What a way to start. So yeah, that's the 280, I believe. So like even the Zeds back then were a major car that people were into back in the day. He's working on that car to make it faster. This guy has look at the tires outside, and I think that might even be a Ken Mary in the background. That might even be a Ken Mary, where you probably could just see those things randomly being sold at dealerships. And that's an RX-7. Man, the wheels in the background, anybody would want to get those wheels because they're vintage now. But look at the look at the fashion of the 80s. High-waisted pants with Hawaiian shirts and very interesting haircuts, almost rocker-like, or what they assumed would be rocker-like. Even these gauges, they had gauges just sitting there in this shop as well. But yeah, so it really goes to show that there's a nostalgic allure to this, which just will really bring you back to what the original purpose of these cars were in the car enthusiast community back in the day, in the 80s and the 90s. Again, I highly recommend to watch this because you won't lose out. It's just a great film, great series of films. So again, you'll find these on YouTube. And there was one thing I did forget to mention. Sorry. There is also another dramatic effect to this movie where he gets tailed by a special police officer or detective who literally follows him around to stop him from racing. It's actually quite comedic in regards to how that part of the story plays out. But yeah, that's another thing. So there's comedy, there's romantic drama, and there's racing. You can't ask for more in a movie. And then, dramatic end to the story, which I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy. And the one thing that is really cool about all these movies is that the hero car is a Nissan Skyline. So sorry, out of 5 of these movies, the hero car is a Nissan Skyline. In the 5th movie, when we do review that, I will show you exactly what the hero car is in there, because it's not a Nissan Skyline. It's funny enough. But, 5 out of 6 is more than enough. And the other cool thing is, going forward from the 2nd film, Keiichi Tsuchiya, the Drift King, appears in every one of those films. And that's another thing that we'll get into in the next review for the next film. So yeah, Freeway Speedway, or otherwise known as Shuto Kosoku Trail, that is the series which you want to watch and catch up on the Fast and Furious before the Fast and Furious. I don't think anybody has really talked about these films, so I thought I'd bring it to your attention, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So stay tuned for the next podcast. Follow me and my car journey with my own Nissan Skyline GTR 32, as well as any things that I post in regards to the podcasts or interesting stuff about the car community and car culture. It's at Real One Garage on Instagram, and you can also follow me and subscribe on YouTube if you like the car culture that I'm promoting, because we want to keep it real here and show what the grassroots portion of the JDM and car community, not only JDM but just car community, is. And so at Real One Garage, real number and the number 1 garage on Instagram, and Real the number 1 garage on YouTube, and Real One Garage on Spotify as well, if you just can listen to this as well. But as I said, the video and the audio will be available on YouTube and Spotify. Sorry. So until next time, guys, peace out.